Yo, Kippy Sky here. What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to part 3 of setting up and using the DSP, MiniDSP. So here's what we are doing today. We've done part 1 where we have unboxed the MiniDSP HD. We went through downloading the software, getting everything installed. Part 2, we then set up our receiver, we set up our subwoofers, we changed crossover, got our settings right to prepare ourselves for some calibration. And now in this video, we are actually ready to make some calibration changes. Now this is really cool. If you don't know what a MiniDSP is for, it is what most people use it for is to calibrate multiple subs, make sure they're working together, check any peaks and nulls, and then we can adjust things to make them better. So I have a small disclaimer, and I apologize for this, but I will make it up soon and I'll tell you how. So I have 2 subwoofers in my system. I have 2 rhythmic type systems, or 2 rhythmic type subwoofers. One subwoofer is your traditional sub that has a plate amp on the back. My other sub is powered by an external amplifier. The Crown XL, I can't remember, XLS 4000, I can't remember what it was, but it's an external amplifier. That one only accepts XLR inputs. It does not accept RCA inputs, unfortunately. And why does that matter? Well, to connect my subs to my MiniDSP, I need to use RCAs. My second sub does not use RCAs. It uses XLR balanced cables. So I actually cannot calibrate my 2 subs because only one of them can be hooked up to the MiniDSP. Now, how am I going to make this up to you? Well, I'm actually headed to a friend's house in a couple of weeks who has about 3 subs in his home, and they all take RCAs. I will be bringing a MiniDSP to his house and calibrating his system, and I'll show you how to use Room EQ Wizard and everything more in depth in action with his system, since he has subs that I can actually use with the MiniDSP. So I will, in this video, still go and talk about graphs. I'm going to talk about things as if I have 2 subs hooked up. So take a look at my screen here. This is my Rhythmic G25 HP sub right here. I'm actually going to exit this out and I'm going to go back to measure. Let's say that you're getting ready to measure your system. This is the first time you've done it, right? You're in Room EQ Wizard, everything's set up. You want to hit measure, right? This is the screen that you're going to get. So now you have your system set up, subs are ready, you're ready to start measuring. So what you want to do at the bottom corner, let me turn my system up. You want to hit start. And it's going to send a frequency sweep to your sub. Let's go ahead and do that. You guys may not be able to hear this. You probably heard that. Not only did you hear the sub, but you probably heard everything in my house vibrate. I can't do that too many times because I am in an apartment. But take a look at the graphs. This is just one subwoofer. My microphone is set up in my listening position. My sub is in the front of the room between the center and the right speaker. And look at this graphs here. Look at this. This is a really good graph. This shows my frequency sweep. At the bottom, it's your frequency between 15 hertz up to 200. That's how I have it set. And then on the left side is your volume. This is your SPL. So the target is about 75, 80 dB is what the target is. We're a little bit higher than that. But take a look at this line here. This is what the Rhythmic G25 HP measured in my listening position. And this is fantastic. This is a straight flat line for the most part. I'll take a look here around this section here. Look at this terrible null that we have at the 78 to 80 hertz range. Actually, let's see exactly what this is down here. It drops down at the 80 or 78 hertz range significantly. That drop goes down from what, about 93 dBs down to under 84, 83 dBs. That is a significant loss of bass in this portion of the frequency sweep. Everything else is relatively flat within maybe 1 to 3 dBs of each other. That is an excellent response. I am actually very happy to see that. And the reason being is because the goal of having this MiniDSP HD is to get a flatter, more coherent response. Now, had I had my other sub hooked up to it, we can have 2 lines going and seeing how each sub is affecting each other, right? So let's just say that this is 2 subs together just to keep things simple. So I have a really smooth line here, but we want to make this look better. So I can go into the MiniDSP. Let me find that tab. I can go to the MiniDSP. Let's say sub output 1 is the rhythmic sub in the front and output 2 is the rhythmic sub in the back. I can start playing with some of these things here and start figuring out what I need to do to help that null. Now, let me go back and show you one thing. The idea to fix this, you typically don't want to boost things, you want to cut things, but this dip is not a huge one per se. We can probably boost this a little bit to make that a little bit smoother. So let's say we need to boost sub 2 around that 78 hertz range or something like that. We can go to the DHP and start playing with things. For example, the parametric EQ, we can go to 80 hertz and maybe we can change that a little. We can maybe boost it up just a couple dBs, nothing too crazy. We don't want to introduce any distortion, maybe clipping, things like that. So we got to be careful with this, but we can kind of play with this and boost it up a little bit and bring some of that frequency range back into our system. Let me click on this again. There we go. So that's one thing that we can do. So there's something else that we can do too. If you're not a fan of boosting things, which I'm not, there's actually another thing you can do to make sure your subs are working together. So let's say that my graph was way worse. Let's say that I had 2 subs and my graph was all over the place. Well, sometimes you need to work on your time alignment. When you have multiple subs, you need to make sure that they're working together. And a good thing to do is play with time alignment. Time alignment means that you're changing the delay of one or more subs so that when it reaches your listening position, it's reaching your seat at the right time, at the same time, giving you the most output. So if you look at delay here, this is also another word for time alignment. You delay some of the subs to make sure that one isn't reaching your ear before another. For example, I have 2 subs, one's in the front, one's in the back, right next to my seat. You want to go to the sub that's closest to you and change the delay, because that sub being closer to you naturally is going to reach your ear well before the one that's furthest away. That's just how sound is, right? That's how everything is. So you want to go to delay. So let's say output 2 is the sub that is closest to me. In this case, it would be. I can go on to delay here, and I can start changing this in milliseconds, right? And that's going to drastically change my graph. So let's say we want to start in increments of like 2 or 3. So I'm going to up this 3.5, 0.3 milliseconds, right? And then I want to go back into Room EQ Wizard, and then I want to run another test tone again. So that when you do that, this graph isn't going to change when I do this because I only have 1 sub hooked up. But we want to run another one again. Where am I going right now? Let me go back. There we go. So you want to run another measurement. So I'm going to start this again. All right, so every time you start to change your delay, you're going to get a slight difference in a graph because you're starting to change how your subs are working with each other. The goal of changing your delay is to try to make sure that you have a positive output. You have a positive change, meaning as you change the delay of your sub, your output starts getting louder. If you see that you're moving your milliseconds and your output is starting to get lower and lower overall, then now they're working against each other. So once you find your max threshold, leave your milliseconds there. So let me try to explain it better this way. So let me go back to the DSP. Let's say I did 0.3 and I had a little bit of a gain. Great, let's try it again. Let's go to 0.6. Okay, another gain, great. Let's try it again. Let's go to 0.9. I have another gain. So now we're getting better and better partnership between 2 subs. Let's go another couple clicks, do it again. Oh no, I saw that I'm losing some output. Now you want to start backing it down. All right, let's try it again. Okay, it's kind of going back up, but not where it was before. So then you find your sweet spot. You find your number. So let's say 0.11 milliseconds was my number. That's when I'm getting the most output with both subs. That's how you know when you've time aligned your subs. Whenever your graph, it has a positive increase overall. If you see your output starting to dwindle, then you're starting to work against each other and you need to find your sweet spot. That's in short how to do your time alignment or how to set delay, and you want to start with the sub that's closest to you. If you have 3 subs, 1 in the front, 2 in the back, start with the one that's closest to you. If both of them are together, then you can maybe do delay on both. You can sum these 2 outputs together, whatever you want to do, but the goal is to take the closest sub to you and start changing the delay so that it's not fighting against the sub that's furthest away from you, and you'll know that it's working if your graph starts to increase in volume level. Let's say you completed calibration, you've gone through everything, you time align, you got your phase correct, all that good stuff. You want to save your changes. On the top left corner, it shows you every time you've done a calibration, it shows you the graph and what's changed. So you can kind of bounce back and forth and see what things have done. You want to save these. You want to name them, you know, sub 1, or you want to name it, let's name this one measurement. I can't spell very well. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. But let's just say this is measurement 2 or something like that. You want to name it whatever just to stay organized. And once you've figured out something you like, you can save all of these in a file so you can revert back to it later. But that is the gist of what the MiniDSP is all about. You take multiple subs. Unfortunately, mine doesn't work in this case, but you take multiple subs and you come in, you run measurements, you see what the subs are doing in your room, you jump back to the DSP and you start making these changes with these options here until you start seeing that line become more smooth and you're getting the most output with the most subs. You want to do this for every sub you have. You have 3 or 4, whatever. If you don't have more than 1 or don't have more than 2, then you want these 2 selected, whatever. But you want to go in and make these changes so that you have the best ability of, you know, getting the most output and the most smoothest response. The last thing on here that I'll say before closing out this video is the invert button here. This is pretty much a phase switch 0 to 180. I recommend you can change it in one spot or the other. On your subwoofer, you're going to have a phase adjustment 0 to 180. You're also going to have one here. Don't do it on both. Both subs should be set to normal or 0, and then you can invert it here, which essentially is the same switch, but don't do it in both places. If I was to invert it here and then go to my sub and turn it to 180, well, essentially I just put it back to where it was. So you only want to do it on one device. So use it here if you want to keep everything organized. You can change it on your sub if you want to, just flip a switch. If you have a variable phase, you may want to play with that too and see what you can achieve. But make sure you make all your changes in one spot, not multiple, or you're gonna mess some things up. So that's what the invert does. You can mute each sub. And the compressor button, I'm not too sure exactly what all this means. I know how to use it, but it's hard to explain. So I won't try because I don't want to confuse anybody or say anything wrong. So I'll leave that alone for now. And then the same thing for the FIR, I guess it's fur, whatever. I don't know what this means whatsoever, so I'll do more research and then I'll get back into this. So remember, I'm going to be doing this video again in a friend's house, calibrating his system for you on video, so you guys will see this in video. I'll have all this knowledge gained at that time. When I have multiple subs to use, I'll do all this again in a better video for you guys. But this just gives you guys an idea of what the DSP is all about, what its goal is, and some of the things you can do to really maximize your subwoofer performance. You can do this for your speakers too, but that's a whole nother ballpark that I don't know that I'm going to get into because most people don't use the DSP to do that. So with that being said, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, stay tuned. About 2 weeks from now, headed to his friend's house to use this in a real world environment. So I'll do a better job of explaining it to you guys. But I wanted to give you guys an idea, maybe a foot in the door on what this is all about, because maybe you're considering it but not sure what it does. This should hopefully help you, and then I'll demonstrate it better in a couple of weeks. So sorry that my sub isn't compatible. I didn't think about it. I didn't realize that I couldn't use it on my second sub, so I apologize for that. But make sure you watch the first two videos because they do still go in depth about how to use and set up this software. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like button and subscribe if you are not already, and we will see you in the next video. Pt.3 out. Peace.